On this episode of Redlit, my wife, a Venezuelan smartass, my neighbors wanted to call a professional to mark their property line. My parents agreed. I don't care if he is dead. Put him on the phone. Boss banned phones. He didn't realize that meant I needed him to do everything. My boss threatens to have me fired if my boyfriend shops at the store. My wife, a Venezuelan smartass. My neighbors wanted to call a professional to mark their property line. My parents agreed. This was a long time ago, but I remember it clearly. We moved into a community with tight space in between our house and our neighbors, and we didn't like them being able to see into our kitchen. We put up a bunch of plants, costing thousands, but my parents thought it would be worth it. A week later, my parents awoke to the plants completely chopped down. My father was furious, and marched down to our neighbor's house. He told my father the plants were on his property line, therefore he had total right to take them down. He warned that if anything were to go on his property again, he would report us to the authorities immediately. Later that day, my father called the company that put in the plants, and with the warranty we could have them replanted next week for no charge. We made sure there was no way it was on our neighbor's property. However, a few days later we caught him chopping them down at 2 a.m. We called the police upon obstruction of property, and after a chat with my neighbor, he decided to call a professional and mark his property line. My father agreed. A few days later, I got home to find orange tape in my neighbor's yard. Apparently, his fence was 11 feet over our property line. We watched as he took down his fence, completely furious. Within the next month, we were enjoying our new space and privacy in our backyard, and my neighbor ended up losing 1/4 of his backyard. My neighbor ended up having to pay almost $10,000 for the destruction of our property, and we got to plant our plants again. TL. Doctor, my neighbor chopped down our plants because he claimed we were on his property. After calling a professional, he lost 11 feet of his backyard and had to pay for destruction of property, and we got to keep our plants. I don't care if he is dead. Put him on the phone. I was sent here on a recommendation from another sub with a story you guys might like. First time poster, on mobile, etc. TLDR at the bottom is here. My father died on Father's Day 2012. He was divorced and living alone, and I am an only child, so that means that I had to wrap up all of his affairs. This story centers around us trying to get his utilities canceled. I called in to see what we had to do to get them to cancel. The lady I spoke with on the phone said to send in his certified death certificate. I sent in the certified copy of his death certificate the next day. The next month got another bill. I called again and a new woman answered. She said that because I wasn't on the account that she had to speak with the account holder. I informed her that the account holder was dead, but she wouldn't budge. I had to make an appointment with a supervisor so she could speak to him herself in person. I showed up at the Board of Public Utilities with another death certificate and his ashes in the clear bag that they returned his remains in. I plopped them down on the center of her desk and said when she talked to him to tell him that I loved him for me. The woman went pale, flew out her chair, and called the cops. When they showed up, she claimed that I had assaulted her. And yes, my dad's remains were still sitting in the middle of her desk, with a death certificate. The cops questioned me as to why I would do that. I told them the story. The supervisor's boss was called in, and they all stepped away from the desk for a private talk. While they were talking, the cops came over to talk to me. They said that I shouldn't take human remains out in public, but there was no laws that were broken. I said that I agreed with them that it was extreme, but she insisted to speak with him in person. By then they were done talking between themselves. The supervisor's boss kissed up to me and got it taken care of. But the story isn't over yet. I had to call back a few days later to get utilities back to the house in my name. When the person on the phone saw the address and my name, I was immediately put on hold. The supervisor's boss that finally helped me got on the phone. She sucked up to me and waived all of the fees that come with setting up utilities. Just as the call was ending, she informed me that she was again so sorry for the employee's lack of compassion. She said that the employee was terminated and again she is so very sorry. TLDR. Ignorant employee asked to speak to dead dad. Had a meeting in person. Brought his ashes. Got her fired. Boss banned phones. He didn't realize that meant I needed him to do everything. So I work in a family-run pet shop and it's just the owner, husband and wife late 50s, and me, F22. My boss is an explosive man and when he's very stressed he loses his shit randomly over small stuff. So anyway, he walked in one morning at 9 a.m. yelling, "That's it, enough phones now, I am banning it, leave it in your van. Don't worry about the work Facebook page, I'll do it. I help run the Facebook page for the business too." I said, "Okay, no problem," and promptly went and put it in my van. I didn't think this was going to last long, I assumed a few days. 9:20 a.m. I'm feeding all the birds, hamsters, rabbits, guinea pigs, etc., and we give them fresh fruit and veg. I had brought some fruit, bought myself, and he had some stuff as well. Some of this fruit and veg I hadn't fed the animals before. Lots of the animals have specific diets and things that can eat. So whenever we have new food I Google and check which animals can eat it. I asked my boss, can all the animals eat asparagus? Can they eat cherries? His replies were, probably, or, I don't know. So I asked if he would look it up. I proceeded with, can kakarikis eat asparagus? Quote. Can Goldie finches eat asparagus? Quote. Can hamsters eat asparagus? Quote. Can budgies eat asparagus? Quote. Can conures eat asparagus? Quote. And so on and so on and so on through the 50 or so different types and breeds of animals in the shop. Then the same with cherries. We sort of got this done, but it wasted his time and mine when I could have done it all really fast myself like I usually do. 9:45 a.m. *, some new stock had arrived that he'd bought in a job lot on eBay, so no prices, *. Boss, oh, can you look these up and see what they are selling for? We do this all the time. Me, of course, can I use your phone? Quote. 9:46 a.m. Right, that's it, just go and get your F***king phone. It lasted 46 minutes. My boss threatens to have me fired if my boyfriend shops at the store. I work at a grocery store. My boyfriend and me both buy our groceries there and sometimes he'll see me and maybe wave or say hi. We don't chat or waste any time unless I also happen to be going on break. My department manager didn't know I was gay when he hired me and he figured it out when he asked me who the guy that was waving to me was. He made a weird face. Not necessarily disgusted, but you get the point. Anyway, anytime my boyfriend would enter the store after that, he would keep his eye on him. Now if he were to wave to me, my manager would start to berate me and try and make it out like I am slacking, when I am just stocking shelves and smiling in his direction. Nothing bad at all. He didn't care at all prior to learning he's my boyfriend. After a week he has a private talk with me saying, my boyfriend is causing too much of a distraction, and he should shop here while I am on shift, and that if something didn't change I might be let go. I was mad. Told my boyfriend about it. He was even more mad. I didn't really want to make a big deal out of it though. This is a temp job, probably won't even have it longer than a year or two. So I decided to prank my manager instead of getting into legal or corporate stuff. We have other gay friends that shop there. Crazy enough, we look just like regular people so no one would realize, including my manager. Sure, my boyfriend won't shop there, but what about other gay people? That shouldn't matter, he just doesn't want my so distracting me at work. So, I mentioned what happened to my 5 friends who mentioned it to their friends and so on. My next shift I bore witness to 30 extremely flamboyant and openly gay men and women flaunting their sexuality in the store. My manager was trying to hide in the back, but every customer needed manager's assistance for the most mundane questions. Lol. He ended up going home early, but after that shock he actually stopped berating me for the past couple of months. He might just be happy that I am not very open about my sexuality, so he can choose to ignore it. TL. Doctor, my boss is homophobic and 30 gay men and women over-dramatize their sexuality to make him feel uncomfortable because he was